Hey friends, and welcome back to the Better Bookkeeper Show. I'm your host, Lynn Talbott, and today I've got something extra special for you. We're diving into a topic that I know is pretty hard for most bookkeepers. We're going to be talking about sales and marketing. Now, I have to be honest with you right up front. When I first started my bookkeeping firm, I thought I could do it all because, I'm an entrepreneur, right? We all think that way. I had hustle, I had tenacity. I can do this. And I figured, why should I pay someone to do marketing for me when I can just figure it out on my own? But the truth is, I did a pretty lousy job. Looking back, I realized I was probably pretty stubborn. I didn't want to spend money on something that I thought I should be able to do. But marketing has changed, and more importantly, it's not about doing everything yourself. So today's marketing world is faster, noisier, and way more complex than it was when I first launched my business. So if I were starting over, I'd try to get a better handle on the marketing strategy. I just thought people would ask, well, who are your clientele or who are you searching for? And I would say, well, anybody that needs a bookkeeper. I really did not focus on what kind of type of client that I needed. And so having a marketing strategy will help you show up to the right people and find the right clients that are good fit for you. So whether you're just starting out or you've been in business for years, marketing your own services can kind of feel awkward or sometimes confusing. But here's the good news. You're not alone and you're not doing it wrong. There are great clients out there looking for somebody just like you, but they just can't find you. So today I'm joined by Stacy Noling, my marketing assistant and my right-hand creative person, and we're going to walk you through several goals today. The first one is why marketing feels so overwhelming for bookkeepers. And number two, the biggest mistakes we see folks make when they're trying to market their bookkeeping services. And lastly, how you can start building visibility without burnout, without selling your soul, on Instagram. So Stacy has extensive experience in marketing and possesses an excellent creative streak. She's been assisting me for many years and has helped me not feel so overwhelmed by all the noise out there. So welcome to the show, Stacy. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and your passion for marketing.
Hi, Lynn. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to join you on this podcast today. As you mentioned, we've been working together for several years, and I currently also work with several other bookkeepers as well as other small businesses and nonprofit organizations. So I have a background in PR and promotions and also ran my own small business for about 10 years. So I got a lot of experience marketing myself, my own business as a marketer. So that was combining kind of two different sides of the coin, being a business owner and doing my own marketing. And so I really got a great handle on how overwhelming it can feel as a small business owner to try to market yourself and find the right clients.
Right. And just trying to find the right avenue sometimes can be really, really frustrating. So our first question, why do you think marketing can feel so overwhelming for bookkeepers?
Well, I think that most people feel really uncomfortable promoting themselves. It's not a natural feeling. It feels boastful. It feels self-indulgent to be talking about yourself a lot. And bookkeepers are really trained to solve problems, not promote themselves.
Yeah, and we recently had a podcast where we talked about sales calls and how you have to kind of get a mindset shift from being a bookkeeper, a helper, and trying to be like super organized, and then shifting your mind to suddenly become a salesperson, and that it's not easy doing that. We discussed kind of the psychology behind all of that and how you do have to undergo that mindset shift to think about yourself. If you are a bookkeeper selling your services, you have to get out there. You have to get out there somehow. Some people are more introverted than others, but there are ways to get out there. You don't have to be all flashy about it, right? But you do have to figure out how you're going to convince others to hire you. So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Marketing does sometimes feel flashy and loud and sometimes fake and inauthentic. And you feel like you have to be somebody that you're not. But it feels hard again when you're pretending to be somebody that you're not. So when you focus on building relationships, solving problems, and helping people instead of bragging about yourself, I think marketing feels a lot more easy to tackle.
I know there's so much advice out there. Sometimes you just don't know, like, where to start. Like, where should the the bookkeeper start? When you realize, okay, I've got my bookkeeping services, and maybe they have a little website, or maybe they don't. They're just like, no, I don't know. I don't want to market myself because I don't know what to say, or I don't know how to market myself. Or also, I hear this too. Well, I don't want to put it out there on the web because then I'll get hundreds of calls.
Yes, yes. I think that a lot of people think that just putting something out there, all of a sudden you're going to get overwhelmed with clients and you don't know what to do with them. But marketing is really a long game. It's not a one and done. It's not a just put something, a post on social media or send one email out and all of a sudden you're going to be overwhelmed with clients. It's really a long game. It's for consistency and a long-term strategy. So I would say to really start with the relationships that you already have. Start with past coworkers or friends or people that you know that have small businesses. Your local network is really a great place to start when you're just beginning to make those connections. And you mentioned a website. A super simple website is really helpful. It helps people to find you and know how to contact you. And then really be clear about who you help and what problems that you solve.
Oh, I like the fact that you talked about, like, be able to talk about the problems you're solving, not like what I do. I can balance your books. I can do this, but I can solve the problems. And really, marketing, that's a lot of marketing. You figure out what do people want, and then you figure out how to feed it back to them. And I think as bookkeepers, we are often structured to think we're problem solvers, we're fixers, we can do this. It doesn't matter how messed up your books are. Like, I'm going to fix everything in QuickBooks. But really, what the client is saying, or what the message that you should be saying is, I can get your books ready for your CPA or for tax season. I can clean up your file so that you can sleep at night, or something like that.
Absolutely. It's again, you mentioned bookkeepers are problem solvers. So a great marketing strategy is to talk about the problems that you solve. What are the common problems that your clients experience and how can you help them solve those problems?
Yes. I remember you talked a little bit about networking, which I love. And if you're just starting out, it feels safer and more comfortable to just kind of do things locally and that's why I think you mentioned, like, maybe coworkers or friends, people that you already know. You already know small business owners from where you shop, or maybe from some type of local community that you're involved in. And that's where you should go first. For me, it was the local chamber of commerce. And we talk about this on other podcasts. The chamber is a wonderful place to meet other small businesses. The chambers are different across the country, so it just happens to be in Chattanooga. We have a very good chamber that promotes small businesses, and so you can go to meetings and you can meet 30 to 40 to 50 small business owners at just one luncheon. And so starting out local it just helps you build the confidence I think you need, because you're talking to people, they're kind of giving you feedback. And if you can if you can take the feedback and, internalize that, and then that helps us create the person that we want to be. Like, what kind of bookkeeper do you want to be? One that is, social with your clients. Some people are introverts, they don't like that. But I liked the personal relationship, putting the human back into bookkeeping and accounting. And when you start local, it allows you to do that. Sure, you can put something on the web and you can just put people, get clients all over the country or all over the world if you like. But if you start local, I think you will gain the confidence you need to then reach out to other people. I know networking for me was almost a full-time job when I first started because I thought that was the only way to get clients. And 20 years ago, it was probably one of the better ways to get clients. But it can turn into a full-time job. I genuinely liked it. I liked getting out to meeting folks and listening to their problems with bookkeeping, but it can become a little bit overwhelming. So, what are some of the other things that independent bookkeepers can focus on first to try to get clients? We talked about maybe local networking, trying to get a simple website page. What are some other things they could do?
I think just consistency and not worrying about going viral, just about being visible to the people that are already trust you and the people that already know you.
hmm And one other advice would be to call your CPA. If you have somebody that does your taxes or a CPA, maybe from church or from your community, then contact your CPA and say, hey, I'm doing bookkeeping now. This is what I do. And CPAs are looking for good bookkeepers. I'm telling you right now, they do not like to do bookkeeping. So if you can buddy up with a CPA, they could probably send you lots of clients without you having to do a lot of marketing. So you've been working with independent bookkeepers on their marketing and branding. What are some of the biggest marketing mistakes that you've seen while bookkeepers are trying to market themselves?
Yes. So I think trying to be everything to everyone. You mentioned earlier that when you started your bookkeeping business, you just said, I can take anybody, anybody that needs a bookkeeper. And that's a very broad net. And sometimes when you throw out a broad net, you don't catch anything because it's too broad and you're not using if we're talking about fishing, you're not using the right bait, right, for what you're trying to catch. So the idea of, oh, I can be everything to everyone, throw that out. You need to really focus in on what your ideal client is and how you can reach them specifically. And don't worry about, just trying to catch everybody. There will be others that will also come in as you start promoting yourself, but being more focused, more specific about who you're wanting to serve and who you want to work with.
Yes, because it helps you get the right clients by casting a wide net, and just like I did, and like I said, I don't recommend it, but it's what I did. I just thought, well, I can do anybody's books, and there's a big difference in doing books for a restaurant where you've got tips and gift cards and things like that, and then for a construction company where you're doing job costing, and if you don't know that, you shouldn't be casting your net over there. You shouldn't be fishing in that pond, I should say. So I think that by figuring out, making that plan and working with somebody like Stacy or a marketing analyst who can say, what is your plan? Who is your ideal client? And trying to focus your message around that, being able to say, yes, I do only service-based companies, and then you could go after, real estate agents or attorneys and people like that just have service-based. So I like the idea that you talk about, getting your niche. Some of us call it like a niche, and it's interesting when you go online. So you think about when people go online and look for a bookkeeper, what do they Google, like bookkeeper near me or bookkeeper for a tattoo parlor. I mean, that's what they Google. And so you have to think, what is it that you want to do? And is that something that somebody's going to Google? Somebody's going to go search for on their search engine. So yes, I like that, being able to get that clear message. And it doesn't have to be a long message either. Sometimes short and simple on the website just, says it all. What are some other things that, other mistakes that you see independent bookkeepers make?
Especially with bookkeepers, I think using too much technical jargon, uh, too many industry buzzwords that don't really mean a lot to people that are outside of the accounting world. Um, so he was trying to be too technical instead of being more relatable. And inconsistency, and that's not just with bookkeepers, that's with all kinds of business owners. Inconsistency in their marketing is one of the biggest mistakes. Because again, we talked a little bit earlier, they'll say, "Oh, well, I sent this email out or I put this post out and I didn't get anything." And so then they stop. So consistency is really the key, is wherever you're showing up, and we'll talk about a little bit later where you might want to show up in your marketing. Wherever you decide to show up, be very consistent about it. And don't just throw things out randomly. Be consistent and be intentional about what you're putting out there.
Because it sounds sort of sporadic or sort of panicky if you just like send out, random things that aren't, following some kind of logic, and that consistency can be, with the colors and just the way the picture of yourself or the pictures that you have, just that feeling of what you're trying to convey.
Yes, one of the biggest mistakes is to wait until it's quiet to do your marketing. Thinking, "Oh, well, I'm not getting any calls, so I better do some marketing." That's so one of the biggest mistakes is that. So again, it goes back to being consistent and showing up on a regular basis wherever it is that you're choosing to do your marketing.
So, do you recommend people maybe have like sort of like a calendar and just sort of sketch out like I'm going to do 2 LinkedIn posts a month and one here and something that they schedule out so that they don't miss anything, and then they can say, "Oh, it's tax season, I should put these type of posts out, and it's Christmas, I should put these type of posts out." What are your thoughts about a marketing calendar?
A content calendar is essential for your marketing, whether you're doing it yourself or you have a marketer that's doing it. And that includes everything, not just your social media posts. It includes your email newsletters. Even you mentioned at holiday times, people actually they send out cards in the mail. So even your print media, all of those need to be in a comprehensive content calendar that you lay out for the month, and you have everything laid out, and then you start seeing trends of how you can use content in different ways and in different places, and we can get into that too, but being able to create something once and use it several times, so you're not just having to churn out content all the time. You have a few things and you can use them in different ways and on different platforms.
Right. So if you wanted to get the message out that it's, you know, Q Q3 tax, returns are due, or Q3, quarterly taxes are due. Maybe you could write a little blog about it and then kind of post it. How would you suggest they, post it on the different ones? I guess you could do like a quick YouTube on it as well, right?
There are all kinds of options. You could write a short blog about the tax deadlines that are coming up, send a link of that blog through your newsletter list, and then you could create an educational carousel of graphics that you could post on your LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, however, wherever it is that you want to show up. And if you like doing video, not everybody does, but if you like doing video, you can also do a short 1 to 3 minute clip video of talking about the tax deadline that's coming up, things to consider, and put that out as an Instagram reel, as a Facebook reel, as a YouTube short. So that's one topic that you now have all of these different pieces of content that you can then put out on different platforms.
That's great. And then when you think about it, your goal is to get everybody to read it or click on it and really to get to your website, right? Because once they get to your website, you're like, oh, look, I didn't know Lynn did payroll, or, look at all the things she does. Or maybe there's a couple of people that have given you a good review and you know one of them, or you're impressed by one of them. And I think just getting people to get to your website, you can do the email newsletter and like MailChimp, and then, start the blog or start your little story, if you want to call it that, and then say, click here, to finish the story, and they click and it takes them to the website, right?
Yes, for sure.
That sounds great. And then you've got more hits to your website and more people hopefully hanging around and looking at all the things that you do. So that would be the goal there. I like that idea. So what are some other marketing tools that independent bookkeepers could start using right away?
Number one is your QBO Pro Advisor profile. That is really important for bookkeepers. And we mentioned LinkedIn. And Lynn, I know you can talk a little bit more about that QBO Pro Advisor profile, but that is what I always recommend to bookkeepers, is making sure that that's number one, that you have one and that it's up to date.
Yeah, so the QBO Pro Advisor profile, it's free if you have the QBO accountant version or the Pro Advisor, version, but you do have to make sure it's turned on because it doesn't come on automatically, and it doesn't come on until you actually pass the first certification exam. So they want you to be certified in QBO, at least level 1, before, you can turn it on. But you do have to go turn it on and obviously upload a picture and make it look really, do your bio maybe in ChatGPT and make it look really good, and then put it in there. So once you have some reviews on the QBO profile, your profile kind of moves up in status. So when someone's clicking, I need someone in this zip code, or someone that does QuickBooks Desktop or whatever it is they want, if you have more reviews, and I've got like 100 and some reviews, your profile is more likely going to show up toward the top. So that's one of the things that you'll want to do, is keep it up to date, have people send reviews there, and just keep it fresh and have a picture there. Nobody wants to click on an empty face and one of those little outline of a face. Same thing on LinkedIn. Nobody wants to click on an outline of a shadow. That's just, you want a face on your business. And that's why people hire people. They don't want to hire a website or an empty face, or a robot. They think it's a robot doing it. So if you're going to work on somebody's books, they are more than likely want to get to know you, and they're going to want to see your face. I think that's true. But yeah, LinkedIn, I advise bookkeepers to go today. If you have not done this, this is what you can do right now. Go right now to your LinkedIn profile and update it, modernize it, make sure it looks really good. There are a lot of new features on LinkedIn that you can add to your profile now that weren't there maybe 4 or 5 years ago, even a couple of years ago. So giving it a refresh today will really help out, because if somebody wants to hire you, just like you would, if you were going to hire somebody, let's say you needed to hire a lawyer or a CPA, and you just wanted to find out a little bit more about them, not from the website, because the website's just going to have their little, best picture and their best little bio. But on LinkedIn, you can actually see where they used to work, where did they go to school, who's talking about them, who knows them. And also you look and say, oh, wait, I have 3 friends that know this person, and that helps you feel connected. So go check out those new features and all the tools. And you can also join lots of groups. There's lots of groups on there, aren't there, Stacy?
There are, yes. LinkedIn now that's been within the last maybe 4 or 5 years. The groups feature has really become a strong kind of community to start joining. So there are lots of different groups. And again, we talked about a niche. If you have a niche, join the groups of where those people people are on LinkedIn. You know, if you have a niche of restaurant owners that you like to work, maybe you're good at doing books for restaurants, find some groups on LinkedIn that are restaurant owners and start going in there. And the key is not to sound too salesy. The key is to offer advice, offer tips, add value to the group. Don't just take. So people can spot very quickly when somebody is just in a group or in a community just to promote themselves. So what you want to do is add value to that community. And that's really a general idea that can apply across a lot of different areas, not just online, but in real community places. That if you're adding value to the community, that's where you're going to build those relationships that then will get you the clients that you're looking for.
Yes, you could give away a free little, you know, newsletter or blog about, top 10 business mistakes I see, or top 10 QuickBooks mistakes I see restaurant owners make, or something like that, and just put it out there, and people will grab it and get to know you. And I like how Stacey mentioned, just don't go in there and sell yourself, because people will run away. And we've all seen that. We're just like, oh, back off. I'm in here in a restaurant group and you're trying to sell me something. I don't like that either. So yes, being able to offer something, and if they need you, they will know where to find you. They can go to the group. They can be like, wait, who was that girl that did that QuickBooks thing that was so cool? And they can go back and scan the group. And you're going to want to make sure in your profile on LinkedIn that it says QuickBooks on there. QuickBooks, Bookkeeper, things like that. Those words are the words that people look for. They might say Bookkeeper near me, or QuickBooks expert, QuickBooks person, QuickBooks helper. If you don't have QuickBooks in that little profile, you want them to see that right away. So that's my tips for a pro advisor profile and LinkedIn. What are some other important tools for independent bookkeepers?
Well, I think that, again, newsletters are great. Really start building that email list. Social media is great. It's very popular. But the important thing is you own your email list. So as you start building that email list, you have direct contact with those potential clients. All of these other social media platforms, you don't really have control of the platform existing at all to begin with. That platform could shut down any day. I mean, unlikely, but it could, and you would lose all those connections. And you don't have control of the algorithms. All of these social media platforms are controlled by algorithms. And so you can put things out there, but the algorithm controls who sees it. So if you really start building your newsletter email list, then you have more opportunities to directly speak to those potential clients. And so I always encourage people to, if you don't have send out a regular email, start doing that. Start collecting those email lists. Now, the important thing about that is you need to use an email platform like MailChimp. I believe QBO Pro Advisor has a MailChimp integration. Is that right, Lynn?
Yes, it's free. So it's free for a certain number of I think up to like 1,000 or 10,000, email lists. So yes, the MailChimp feature is free. And there's some other ones like Constant
Constant Contact is another one.
Contact.
So there are several different platforms. If you have a CRM platform that you work with, sometimes your CRM will have an embedded email function. And those are important because of privacy laws and FCC laws. So back in the day, you could just send out I say back in the day, but you could send out as many emails as you want, hundreds through your email, through your AOL back in the day. But nowadays, people have to be signed up for your list, and they have to be able to unsubscribe. So if you don't have that, and if you're just sending something out through your Gmail, they don't have a way to unsubscribe themselves from your list. And there's something called a GDPR which is kind of a privacy law. And that was put into place quite a few years ago. So that is why those email platforms are important to use, and not just sending emails out in mass from your email address.
Yeah, that's important to know because it seems logical. Well, I'm just going to send this out, to my clients or to former clients or potential clients, and if they don't like it, they can, just let me know. But in reality, you do have to have an unsubscribe option, and a regular Gmail or whatever just doesn't have that. So to to get an email list, so we talked about getting, you have a newsletter platform. Let's say you want to use the free one in MailChimp, because look, I like everything free. We all like something free. Go use it. It's pretty user friendly. It's a little chunky sometimes and clunky, but it's pretty user friendly. You can at least go get it started, upload your logo and a few things. And then it has little sections where you can maybe have 3 points of the day. You have like a QuickBooks tip, and maybe you highlighting a client, and maybe a tax deadline or something like that, or a link to your blog, something like that. But your email list, the nice thing about the MailChimp is it does integrate with QuickBooks. So once you open it up and you link it with your QuickBooks, it will load all of your client emails in there. And then once you send it out, when they opt out, it will pull them out. Now they're still in your QuickBooks, but it just pulls them out of MailChimp. So it kind of gives you that option there. But then you have to think about how to grow your email list in other ways. And we talk about that in our mastermind marketing class, about how to grow an email list and get potential clients that way. So we can talk about that further in our mastermind marketing class. So, any other like marketing tools for independent bookkeepers that we should be aware of?
You know, everybody's obsessed with Instagram and TikTok dances right now, but sometimes a well-timed email can really nail that dream client. I've seen it happen before. So just be aware that you don't have to be on the latest, most popular platform, that sometimes the old school tools still work really well.
Yes, I agree. And then you wonder how many people are looking for bookkeepers on, certain platforms. I don't know. So that's good advice. You don't have to get the latest trend. Um, so how can a bookkeeper try to stand out with this noisy and crowded market, especially the way marketing is nowadays? It's just more crowded and seems, to me at least, more difficult to manage if you're just an individual bookkeeper trying to wind your way through all these mazes of social media, and it can get overwhelming quickly. And I think that's one reason why bookkeepers kind of shut down, because they're like, I cannot keep up with all of this, and I don't know what's effective. I don't know how many clients I'm getting. And that's true. You don't really know how you're getting all the clients and how effective you are. So, how can a bookkeeper stand out with all this noise?
That's a great question. I would say be specific in what problems you're solving and be authentic. Um, when you are clear and concise about what you're offering, and when you are presenting yourself as authentic, a relatable person, you're more memorable. Um, people don't hire businesses, people hire people. They want to connect with someone. And bookkeeping is it doesn't sound personal, but it can be a very personal thing.
Yes.
You have somebody working with your money, and people have a lot of feelings around money. And so it's important that they feel comfortable working with their bookkeeper. And that's only going to happen if they feel like they can trust you and that they know who you are as a person and not just a company. So showing who you are, showing your personality, again, that you're not just a business, you're not just a company, you're just not just a corporation, that you're a person, and that you are going to be taking care of them, and that you have their best, you have their best intent, you have the best intentions in mind for them. And, you can show real stories about your clients and the successes that they've had. Those are ways that you can stand out in a really crowded market, and not just talking about, you know, the great things that you're doing or how great you are as a bookkeeper, but real stories that connect with real people.
I like that. And just putting those stories out there on your website and then linking to those stories, especially if you've got a client that's willing to kind of share, hey, when I started, I had all this anxiety and this was going on. And, this bookkeeper really just took control and made me feel comfortable, or whatever the words is that they're using. You want to pick up on that and use that. So I think for trying to stand out in a crowded market, I think about if I'm going out and looking for somebody, let's say in the service industry, again, like a lawyer or a CPA or a real estate agent, like, how am I going to vet that? There's hundreds out there, if not thousands, if I wanted to go remote. So a lot of it comes down to customer service. And so when I see a smiling face on a website, or I even see a little video like, hey, I'm Lynn, blah, 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 it's like, oh, I can relate to that person. And that may just be me, but I like to relate to people. And when I meet with people, they're like, oh, can you call me? I'm like, no, I want to get on a Zoom call. Like, I want to see you and I want you to see me, because I think that I can convey how sincere I am and honest, and that I want to do your books, and that I can convey that message better if you see me. And that's true. We used to all meet in person. We would, go get coffee together or something like that. And while now we do it through Zoom, I think it is important to have some type of little video with you talking. It can just be super short if you're shy. Just you might have to, you know, take three takes or 10 takes on it, but you can do it and get through that. So I think you're right. Just showing that you're more personal and just showing your personality, because it's all about customer service. So someone's going to leave their bookkeeper and come to you because maybe they're not getting what they need from their bookkeeper, or maybe they feel like their bookkeeper's ignoring them, or they just say, well, they don't talk to me. They do a good job, but they're never there when I ask questions. I just feel like they don't really connect with me. I've heard that a lot. And so you don't want to be that person. You want to make sure that once you get a client, you're talking with them, you're meeting with them, and you're telling them, hey, I'm looking at your books every month. You're sending emails. I finished your books for the month, and these are the 3 things I have questions about. Because that's going to show that you really are you really are the good customer service person that you say you are. Also, you don't want to wait till the end of the year. So many bookkeepers and accountants wait till the end of the year, and they say, well, I asked you for your statements back in October, but they never sent them. Like, no, you keep asking until you get them. And sometimes you have to pick up the phone and call and just say, I don't know if you saw my email. I really want to do a good job by you. I want to get your taxes out on time, but I can't do it unless you give me those statements. So I'm counting on you to get them to me. Call me if you need any help downloading them from the bank or whatever. But I do hear a lot of people talk about customer service, and I think that's where you have to stand out as a bookkeeper. Just like in any customer relations type job, you've got to stand out, and you can't stand out if you're hiding behind a spreadsheet. So, Stacy, what role should social media play in a bookkeeper strategy? We've talked a little bit about social media here or there. It's really different nowadays. What is your opinion about how a bookkeeper should utilize social media?
Yes, I think I mentioned it before in a different way. Don't try to be everywhere all at once. So I think the best strategy for utilizing social media in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming and feels manageable is choosing 1 or 2 platforms to show up on and just being there. Don't try to get on all the platforms, because again, that's so overwhelming to think, oh, I've got 4 or 5 platforms I've got to post on 3 to 5 times a week. And then you just freeze because you go, oh, I just can't do all that. So choose 1 to 2 platforms that you're going to consistently show up on, post on a consistent basis, and post content that is relatable, that is helpful, um, content that builds trust over time. It doesn't have to be professionally done, professional graphics. It can be simple. It can be, just something that adds value to those potential clients and helps them to maybe understand why they need a bookkeeper, or helps them to understand what problems you're going to solve for them.
Maybe even like tips and tricks or something like tip of the day. You could do something like that, or tip of the week, something that QuickBooks does. Or I used to try to get out announcements like, oh, there's a new feature in QuickBooks, and I would say what the feature is. Like maybe people didn't care, but some people would be like, oh, I didn't know. I never saw that button. And they would be appreciative of doing that, because you're looking at all QuickBooks users, whether they're going to hire you or not. But eventually people will get to a place, business owners will get to a place where they're like, I can't do this on my own. I'm ready to hire somebody. Who is that QuickBooks person always on LinkedIn giving me tips? Like that's kind of how people would find me. And at one point, I was known as the QuickBooks lady, and that's just how they would introduce me whenever I would go somewhere. I would say, well, my name's Lynn, but I would end up being the QuickBooks lady because that's pretty much all I talked about when I would teach classes and, do emails, but it would be all about QuickBooks. So that would be great if you could become the QuickBooks expert and the QuickBooks go-to person just by posting things on social media and being consistent. Well, that is great. Thank you, Stacy, for all of your insights today on how independent bookkeepers can sharpen their marketing skills, and just for helping us understand that marketing doesn't have to be flashy or complicated. And it's probably better if it is a bit understated, just keeping it simple and personal and just surprisingly natural, especially when you lean into what makes you unique as a bookkeeper. If you like what you heard today, we'd love to hear from you. Tag us on social or leave a review wherever you're listening. And if you're ready to go deeper to build your brand, boost your visibility, and get real support, we'd love to have you join us inside the Mastermind Marketing class for bookkeepers. You can find it at the Bookkeepers Training Circle. Just head to our website, coachingbookkeepers.com, to learn more. Until next time, keep showing up, keep growing, and keep being the awesome bookkeeper you were meant to be.